Deborah and I are still trying to figure everything out, and we've done a lot of figuring out. In fact, we just figured out a special move for um, for this uh, situation. And so, right now, um, we're going to show you the testimony video that we wanted to show you earlier today, but we didn't get a chance to. That was actually the opening video scene that we were going to show you this morning. Just thought it was a little goofy, but we're still learning and we're still appreciating your patience. And I got to give big props to Deborah, who has been working really hard to learn this program and has been doing all our video stuff. And how was it for you today?
Stressful.
Stressful? Well, um, and as you notice, we're still trying to figure out the audio and stuff like that, but we're going to get it. So here's that testimony that we were actually going to give you the whole time. And so here you go. Because um, you are the New Day expert on quarantining.
Mm, I've been having it in practice for a few years now. I'm glad I'm good at something still. Stuck here for too long. Finally, finally my calling.
That's
You
right.
know,
It's what God has prepared for you for years.
that's a good way of thinking of it. That's a positive spin. You know, I'll take it. You know, I think the main thing is maintaining a routine. The most basic skeleton is so if you wake up at the same time every day and go to sleep around the same time, we need structure, you know. I know people who are disabled or people who retire. No matter who you are, like you just want to feel like you have purpose, and part of that is a big part of that is some kind of structure. God made us to where we need to kind of measure things in order to understand how good or bad we're doing. And God did make day and night rhythms and flows and made our bodies like a whole thing that's all about that. You can volunteer for the church and help Bill out with some stuff. I think about my grandma a lot, who she wrote a lot of letters that were just like a few sentences in a card. Everybody in my whole family, when she passed away, was just like, well, I could count on, Grandma Culp, sending us a card for my birthday, Easter, Christmas, da 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 da. Just a personal touch thing is really nice. I mean, maybe you're sick, you just feel kind of useless sometimes. I think about Phil's dad,
Speaking of Anthony Gomez,
Anthony Gomez, yes, an accident, and I hadn't met him before that. I only met him after he was injured. But he would come to church and he would sit on the front row. He just existed though, and it was like just seeing him there on Sundays meant a lot. Just seeing that that was so important to him. I was thinking also recently about my great grandpa. I don't ever remember like a thing that he said, but I remember his smile, that he was happy to have us around when we visited. I think that we don't realize just how much value we have just the way we are. And like it brings value to people just by our relation to each other. So, like, checking in on people, calling them like this. Part of what I've been dealing with is it's really hard for me to communicate with people. Like, it's astonishing that I'm on this thing right now. It's hard for me to text people. It's hard for everything, but little things people can do, like Miss Francis just shoots me a text sometimes, and like I had to get some church mail. Karen just put like, "Hi, Alicia," and like, Karen, miss you or whatever. It's just like the small things, like really matter when you're isolated.
what spiritual challenges do you face as a quarantined person?
When you can't be at church there's just no replacement for community, you know? You can get close, like with, just friends and family and singing songs and, listening to the music. You have to actively remember that people exist outside of yourself, because you can get so embedded in your world. Yeah, if you don't have your own interactions with the outside world, you can kind of get stuck in your own worry or despair or whatever. I think it's really important to have a moment where every day where you like actively try to think about other people, think about someone that you know, and think about like, okay, it's 2 o'clock. What could they be doing right now? Like you start thinking like, oh, you know what, they mentioned that they work until 3 something. Okay, so they're probably, it's probably after lunch and they're doing that. It's just, I don't know. It's something that denoting like what other people are probably up to. And then you remember something they said and you shoot them a message like, hey, I just remembered, you said you had a doctor appointment tomorrow or whatever. You just remembering what other people are doing and like actively practicing empathy and the fruits of the spirit intentionally is really important. So when you feel so alone, if you don't wait for other people to reach out to you because you're lonely, you reach out to other people and see if they're lonely. It actually feels better than if they reached out to you sometimes. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Yeah, everybody knows that verse, but the beginning of that is about sometimes you have little and sometimes you have a lot, but you can handle all things. When God says don't worry, it's about being consumed by worry. Like, who by worrying can add another day to their life, right? And it's literally true. Like, worrying can physically kill you. Sometimes it means you just have to let it go because you realize it doesn't actually matter. But like, if you don't literally have food, like if you have no food in your kitchen, that's not like, you know what? I won't worry about starving to death, right? Like that's not a thing that you could just like whatever. But I can talk to people and tell them I need help. You, but just the act of sitting and worrying, isn't going to do anything. I think it's a time where people are going to be having to ask each other for help a lot, but that's why we have community. And thank you for everybody who's reached out to me. And I miss everybody. I miss it there a lot. So that's probably the biggest thing I want to say.
Hey, thanks so much, Alicia, for being able to share with us. Thank you again for everybody who tuned in today to worship with us. We're going to be praying with you all week and look forward to staying together separately and using all this cool new technology. We'll be talking